I am an investigative reporter based in San Francisco and rarely travel overseas on assignment. But this was different. 2 California college students and their parents at the center of an international incident, July 26, 2019.
He said, "Mom, it's really, really bad." He said, "They're saying that I killed a cop," and then the phone just went dead.
The people of Italy were mourning a 35-year-old police officer, Carabinieri Deputy Brigadier Mario Circello Rega. He had just returned to work after his honeymoon and was stabbed to death trying to arrest suspects after what police called a drug deal gone bad. His funeral, held in the same church in which he married and broadcast live across the country. The officer's wife, Rosa Maria, wept at his casket. Thousands came to pay their respects, including the Italian Prime Minister.
Ai familiari, alla moglie.
Giuseppe Conte told reporters this is a very sad loss that's touching all of us very deeply. One life lost. So many more changed forever. How devastating it must be for a mom to see her baby in prison. By a terrible incident that took just 32 seconds. Just hours after Officer Circello Rega died, police released these photos of the suspects being questioned in their room at the Meridian Hotel. 19-year-old Finnegan Elder and 18-year-old Gabriel Natale had come to Italy on vacation. They're now held in this prison in the heart of Rome. There's also a controversy over one of the young men being held before interrogation with a blindfold over his face. I'll be landing soon and covering it this week. I went straight to the crime scene that turned into a memorial to the fallen Carabinieri. Just met a gentleman on the street. Can you tell me your name, please?
Marco.
What's it like seeing this?
If they were drunk or I don't know, but it was something wrong, and I hope there will be justice.
I wonder what justice looks like to you. What should happen to those 2 young men?
That they will stay here in Italy in jail until they die.
In the days and weeks to come, I found that the Italian legal system is different than the American in one big way: constant leaks to the media. I obtained complete investigative reports that include photos, interviews, and the teens' text messages from that night, and can now reveal exactly what happened. Could the killing have been a massive misunderstanding? Could it have been self-defense? With their parents' first on-camera interviews, I can also shed new light on both Finn and Gabe's upbringing.
We took family walks, we have Sunday family dinners, we were very involved in sports, PTA at his middle school. Ethan coached soccer, helped to coach baseball, so we have been and are still very close.
We've always been parents that have talked about stuff before they happen. You see the billboards that say, talk to your kids about this or that, and we've always done that ahead of time. Sex, drugs, life, love.
In many ways, they were just average kids from the neighborhood, but I can trace their long path, how they wound up on that street in Rome after 3 a.m. in a life or death struggle with police.
I can't picture him doing something like that.
Finn Elder grew up in San Francisco, just blocks from the Pacific Ocean. The home has been in the family for generations. His father, Ethan, works for a company that builds auto service centers. His mother, Leah, in supply chain logistics. The day after the killing, after Finn said he stabbed the officer in self-defense, they posted a sign on their door asking for privacy.
I've known Finn since he was born, and I'm in shock. He's the nicest guy, one of the nicest neighbors I have.
As soon as word reached California about what happened in Italy, I checked Finn's social media. He described himself on Instagram as King of Nothing and wrote, "Death is guaranteed, life is not." He attended Sacred Heart Cathedral Prep. He was just another high school junior when he recorded his French final.
Bonjour, ça va?
Bonjour, Frankie. Je suis comme ci, comme ça. Et toi?
Très bien.
Finn and his friends hung out in a wooded park in San Francisco called Stern Grove. That's him doing a flip. Something happened in that park that changed his life's trajectory and eventually brought him to Rome and to that street corner. Finn played on the school football team, number 87, but he was forced to leave Sacred Heart after a violent confrontation with a teammate. His family would later describe it as a mutually agreed upon fight, kind of a contest.
That was known about and discussed in advance, and Finn always contended that the other boy was his friend and that the other players and kids that were there that night were egging everybody on.
The father of Finn's victim describes it differently.
My son almost lost his life.
The father tells me the boys argued over a girl during a party there at Stern Grove the Saturday night before Halloween 2016. Police records show it was just after 10 p.m. The victim's father tells me both boys squared off, but Finn put up both hands and appeared to back off. He says when his son turned away, Finn tapped him on the shoulder and sucker punched him twice, knocking him to the ground. He hit his head hard and suffered a traumatic brain injury. The 16-year-old was in a coma for a week, had bleeding on the brain, memory loss, and took months to recover. He will always have a metal plate in his head where the surgeon operated.
Our family went through much pain and suffering, not knowing how this may change him. Watching him laying unresponsive in the ICU early on and fearing the worst.
Police arrested Finn, but as a juvenile, his assault charge was dismissed after a year of probation. The other boy's father wrote a victim impact statement read aloud in court to Finn Elder.
We want you to know that we forgive you.
He agreed to read the statement if I didn't name him or his son.
We hope that you make your recovery as my son has. Finish out your high school in a positive way and go on to a good future yourself without fights or finding your way into the criminal system again.
But more trouble was ahead. Finn went on to play rugby for the Golden Gate Club, his coach, Tony Wells.
Finn, he was a popular guy with his peers, worked hard, had great parents. Ethan and Leah were hands-on, and they were always volunteering.
Leah Elder planned team trips, including this one to a tournament at UCLA. Then what the family describes as a turning point. Finn was working at an auto dealer's service center, perched on a ladder installing a cover on one of those reels near the ceiling. The ladder tipped. He fell 15 feet, leaving half his finger behind. 2 surgeries at Stanford Medical Center failed to reattach it.
He just said that it was difficult and it needed to heal. So, and I think it was pretty much the beginning of the season when it happened.
And he couldn't play sports any longer with that.
Yeah, with the finger, yeah.
He was in a staggering amount of pain for a long time.
It was almost a year exactly since Stern Grove. Did he think this was somehow payback?
No, it was just coincidental.
But I don't discount the idea that Finn's kind of immature brain thought that this was some sort of black cloud that had now decided to park itself over his head.
It's like a karma thing.
I don't agree with the word karma, but I think that Finn's psyche took it really hard.
As part of his probation in the Stern Grove assault case, Finn had to stay away from Sacred Heart or any of its off-campus functions. So he transferred to Tamalpais High School in Mill Valley, just north of San Francisco across the Golden Gate Bridge. His mother tells me the finger injury distracted from his studies, and Finn didn't graduate with his class. He passed a high school equivalency test.
Congratulations, class of 2018.
At Tamalpais High, Finn met Gabriel Natale. His father, Fabrizio, was born in Italy. He's an investment officer for a state worker pension fund. His mother, Heidi Yort, is a Marin County realtor. I spoke to her about Gabe.
He is stubborn, and unfortunately that might come from me. He has a teenager's quick temper and can be loud when he's mad. I blame that on the Italian side.
I also live in the area, and my own sons know some of Finn and Gabe's circle of friends. I spoke with several of those teens, and a troubling profile of both suspects emerged, of drugs and violence.
When Gabe is on drugs, I've been around Gabe on drugs, he's insane. He has a lot of anger, I feel like, and it's very obvious in his personality. He's very confident in himself, kind of like cocky, thinks he's better than everyone. He was really out of control, and I think he was above the law. A lot of kids here in Marin, I feel like, think they can get away with anything with money.
Italian authorities confiscated Gabe and Finn's cell phones after their arrest and leaked the contents to reporters, videos, photographs, and social media posts. Both teens displayed a fascination with weapons, knives, brass knuckles, and guns. Finn recorded himself putting a knife to his girlfriend's face with the caption, "I kill you," holding a gun to his head writing, "There's no bullets in this bitch," and vaping in bed with a gun. Gabe recorded himself driving down a San Francisco street with a gun on the steering wheel. Here, he opened fire while on a Marin County hilltop.
We're not a gun family. We never have been a gun family. We've never owned a gun. We've never shot a gun. We were some of the later parents to even allow play Nerf guns in the house.
And to see that gun was a surprise. You didn't know he had it.
No.
Investigators wrote they also saw copious amounts of drugs and pictures on both teens' phones, marijuana, cocaine, prescription medication, and large sums of money that could be derived from the sale of narcotics based on text messages found. Finn had a large bag of marijuana, a picture with lines of cocaine, and a wad of $100 bills.
Finn saw those images as well in jail. He said, like teen boys would, "I never thought those pictures would get out." I was very ashamed, and they were very hurtful.
Were you aware, though, that he was doing drugs and perhaps selling, and he was interested in knives and a gun?
Well, there was always, some threat or level of drugs with teenage boys in this town in particular. Selling drugs and guns and knives, no.
The rest of the stuff that was there, looked to me to be a lot of mimicking of rap star artists, music, copying photos that he's seen.
With the fanned money.
Yeah, fanned money, the drugs, the guns pointing at the head, seemed to be stuff that if you look at any of the rap music, social media, there's a lot of that out there, and that looked to be a copycat thing to me. It's the only explanation and guess that I have because, again, I wasn't aware of any of that.
Gabe had this picture of jars of marijuana and a scale and social media posts in which he appears to be selling drugs. This Snapchat of OxyContin pills, for example.
You might think I'm dumb. I'm just 17 with a whole lot of money.
Less than a month before his arrest in Rome, Gabe's mother texted about her suspicion that he was dealing drugs. Heidi Yort wrote on WhatsApp,
"If you need to make me the bad guy so you can move out and do your drugs and sell your drugs and party all night and not have a life that's productive, then you go ahead and do that."
LOL. You sound so ridiculous. Go and sell your drugs? Just because I tried some mushrooms for the second time in my life and decided to be honest and tell you?
It is that you are not still selling drugs since you do not have a job and you continue to buy stuff, expensive stuff.
When Italian police leaked that exchange to reporters, Gabe's mother gave me this note her son left on July 16th, just 3 days before he left for Italy.
Dear Mom, I want to apologize again for the fight I started last time I was here. I really regret what I said and the way I behaved toward you. I love you with all my heart, and someday I will be able to fully show it.
Gabe had just wrapped up his first year at Santa Barbara City College. Finn went to San Diego Mesa College, and he had been struggling with what his family described as a bad group of friends. They thought a solo trip to Europe could be a fresh start.
He was a little ambivalent about junior college in San Diego at that point. So my hope was that it would allow him to sort of clear his mind, allow him to just get out of kind of a little bit of the state of mind he was in and some of the friends he was with, and just experience something different.
Finn was in Berlin, Germany, about to visit Spain and then fly home when he connected through social media with his friend and asked his parents if he could take a detour.
Gabe invited me. I have this friend who is half Italian. He says he's in Rome, and so.
Each summer, Fabrizio Natale would take Gabe and his little brother to visit their grandfather for 2 to 3 weeks at a seaside villa in Fregene, about an hour outside Rome.
Hello?
I stopped there 2 days after Officer Cicella Rega died. We're not hearing any answer at this point. We want to go into the beach town today to see if there's anyone else here who knows Gabe, who talked to him in the recent weeks. Gabe's Facebook still includes this picture of him boxing on the Fregene sand from a few years ago. Fabrizio Natale told me he had never heard of Finn Elder before, that he wasn't one of his son's close friends. But he gave permission for Gabe to go to Rome. He left the beach house on Wednesday, July 24th at about 6 p.m., hitching a ride with his uncle Claudio.
Ha parlato con suo figlio, sta bene?
That's Claudio on the right, escorting Fabrizio past the Italian media. When Finn arrived in Rome, he wasn't able to connect with Gabe at first.
And so he asked if I could get him a hotel room so that he would have at least a place to stay. And he was only supposed to stay that night and then leave.
Oh, only one night?
Mm-hmm.
Leah Elder used frequent traveler points to book a room at the Meridian Hotel, room 109.
Later Wednesday, which would have been when we woke up or something, he said that they did meet up. So then that's when we extended it one more day.
Oh, I'm sure you wish you hadn't extended another day.
I do.
That first night went by without incident. Gabe's Snapchat shows the teens out in Rome. Over one picture at 10 o'clock he wrote,
"Whenever I meet up with my hometown friends, I tell them to meet me a la Piazza di Spagna."
That's Finn with his shirt off. An hour later, Gabe Snapchats from the Ice Club, a popular night spot in the Monte area of Rome. They return to their hotel room safely. What happened the following night is spelled out in the Carabinieri's official investigative report, 218 pages that I obtained, translated, and analyzed. I also shared notes with a renowned investigative journalist at one of Italy's largest newspapers, La Repubblica. Federica Angeli's reporting on the mafia sent 32 of its members to prison.
And I've been living for the last 6 years with protection by the police for denouncing the mafia.
She is also investigating what happened that deadly night in July. Deputy Brigadier Mario Cicella Rega and Carabinieri Andrea Variali are just starting their midnight to 6 a.m. shift. You can see them leaving the Piazza Farnese police station barracks in plain clothes. Just across the Tiber River, Finn and Gabe arrive at the popular nightlife area called Trastevere. Security cameras capture them walking near the fountain in Piazza Trelusa, an area known for drugs. The young men catch the attention of 4 off-duty officers. One snaps a cell phone picture, that's Gabe's, back to the camera, and sends it to Officer Variali with a message. They want to buy. They are asking everyone, believe me, I really know 2 chickens. The officer identifies the bald with the muscles as a drug dealer's mediator. His name is Sergio Brugitelli, 47 years old.
This is the way the drug dealer act. They operate with the help of a mediator. They don't approach directly the client. The mediator finds the wealthy client and he calls the drug dealer and organizes the meeting.
Brugitelli, the mediator, would later tell police that Gabe asked in Italian if he had any cocaine to sell.
I told him that I didn't have the drug with me, but that I was able to recover it.
He said Gabe wanted 80 euros worth and that he went to a nearby ATM and returned. The mediator took Finn and Gabe on a 10-minute walk. Again, security cameras caught them along the way, to Piazza Mastai. Brugitelli, the mediator, said he was looking for a friend of mine
who sells the drug, Italo.
Not seeing him in the square, the mediator calls 26-year-old Italo Pompei, who has a criminal record for drug dealing. Pompei confirms he has cocaine and asks them to wait. This witness, Tamer Salem, told police he saw Finn, Gabe, and the mediator sitting on this bench and that they all appeared under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Then the pusher calls Brugitelli, the mediator, back, saying to meet him a couple blocks away near the Alcazar Theater. Finn stays behind in Piazza Mastai with the mediator's bike and backpack. Remember, the off-duty police are following them. Security cameras catch 2 officers on a motorcycle headed for the rendezvous at the Alcazar. There, Pompei, the pusher, later tells police that the mediator introduced Gabe by saying,
"He is my little brother."
Gabe hands over the 80 euro, the pusher gives him a foil packet, and suddenly the police pounce.
The reality is that the pusher is an informer of the police forces.
Oh, really?
And in fact, in the report by the prosecutor, you will read that when the police forces arrive, he starts screaming, "Stop, I'm a friend of the police."
They spot Gabe bent over, using his cell phone light to find the foil packet he had dropped. He hands it to an officer and bolts. Gabe runs back to Piazza Mastai. Finn grabs Sergio Brugitelli's backpack and they take off. Tamer Salem said, "I saw them run away. I couldn't tell who was who except one of them had a bicycle, Sergio." Sergio Brugitelli, the mediator, chases after Finn and Gabe and jumps on his bike, as you see from the camera along Via della Luce, but he gives up and turns back. It's now 1:19 a.m. The off-duty officers call Mario Tricella Rega and his partner, Andrea Veriale, to meet in Piazza Mastai and give them the foil packet. They quickly realize it contains one tacopurina pill, basically Italian Tylenol.
Neither the mediator or the drug dealer have been arrested because that night when the police officer arrived and intervened on the scene, they didn't have any drug with them. They had only aspirin.
The mediator asks Officers Veriale and Tricella Rega for help recovering his backpack. He says it contains his old Nokia phone like this one, 30 euros and some documents, but the officers tell him to call the office in the morning. The young Americans catch this taxi and head back to the hotel. Gabe later said he opened the backpack in the taxi, noticed the mediator's cell phone.
At a certain point, the phone rang.
It was Brugitelli, the mediator, calling from a friend's phone.
And Finn and I agreed to ask for the money. That is 80 euros, which they had stolen from us.
They agreed to exchange the backpack for the money and a gram of cocaine at the Unicredit Bank 1 block away from their hotel. Security cameras catch the Americans arriving back at the Meridian at about 1:30. Gabe, now carrying the backpack, on the phone again. He spoke with the mediator by cell 8 times that night, according to the investigative report. At the hotel room, Finn texts his girlfriend back in California.
Gabe just got robbed, LMAO.
OMFG, how?
We were trying to buy coke from these sketchy guys, and they wanted Gabe alone so I could watch this guy's backpack. I hear footsteps running back, so I'm like, oh, this isn't good. Gabe turns the corner like, bro, I think I just got robbed.
Oh, Gabe, boy needs to learn how to fight.
So I'm like, I'm gonna grab his bag. So ran back and stole the bum's bag, LOL. And everyone started chasing us through Rome.
Definitely sounds like an adventure.
Yeah, well, Gabe is hella pissed. He's like, bro, we gotta go out now. I'm like, bro, I'm tired. Gabe is so mad, LOL. Idiot.
At 2:04 a.m., the mediator calls the police. He tells the Carabinieri that the teens are demanding money for the return of his backpack. Italian police call that cavallo di ritorni, or a return horse scheme. Stealing something and then demanding money for its return, a form of extortion. The Carabinieri dispatcher calls Veriale and Tricella Rega again. The officers meet Brugitelli in Piazza Gioacchino Belli around 2:30 a.m. Asked him to call Gabe and place it on speaker. Tricella Rega records part of the conversation. Gabe appears worried about being ambushed.
You were still with your friend. I told you that you have to come back alone.
Brugitelli, the mediator, answers,
Hey, I come alone. I come alone.
I hear a lot of voices. I told you to come alone.
But look, I come alone. I come alone. You don't worry. But you have to tell me the bank. At least the bank.
Unicredit.
Craig Peters is the Elder family attorney from San Francisco.
And the boys were suspicious and thought that this was a setup and were very worried and were looking to see if Sergio Brugitelli and Pompeo's colleagues were in the area. They thought they were dealing with gangster, mobster, mafia types.
After that call, Gabe changes his clothes and puts on a sweatshirt, even though Rome was suffering a heat warning. The temperature was pushing 80 degrees, even at 3 in the morning. He leaves the hotel alone and appears to scout the area. He walks by the Unicredit Bank, caught by its ATM cameras. He returns to the room, leaves again with Finn, also now in a sweatshirt, but he is hiding a deadly weapon. Finn would later tell police,
When my friend told me he would go out to meet this person, I worried about him, and I decided to accompany him. And at that moment, I took the knife.
A U.S. Marine-style combat knife called a K-bar with a 7-inch blade. Finn had this photo on his cell phone, apparently holding the same knife in San Francisco before the trip.
Had you ever seen that knife before?
No. You can go to Big Five and there's rows and rows of camping knives.
Did it surprise you that he traveled with that?
Yes.
Yes, it did.
The officers head to the meeting location in their unmarked patrol car, that black Fiat Punto, and park down the street from the hotel. They tell the mediator to wait by the car. The investigative report says Finn and Gabe appear to see them arrive. They duck between cars at 3:06 a.m. Then, the young men walk down the left side of Via Federico Cesi, caught by cameras at a jewelry store. Almost 3 minutes later, the report says you can see the shadows of the officers across the street heading for the teens. Officer Variale told investigators, "We immediately noticed the presence of two subjects positioned at a pharmacy across the street from the Unicredit Bank with a clearly cautious and suspicious attitude." Remember, Finn and Gabe are expecting one person, Sergio Brucatelli, the bald drug pusher's mediator. They'd seen him before. But there's Officer Variale in a t-shirt and jeans, and Officer Cicella Rega in a t-shirt and Bermuda shorts.
And I believe that Finn and Gabriel both were fearful when they saw two extra people that they believed were part of the drug dealers' associates.
The report says the bank ATM camera catches the officer's shadows crossing to the pharmacy to confront the teens. Variale told investigators the officers suddenly approached Finn and Gabe and identified themselves as Carabinieri by showing their ID cards, but the two attacked us physically with extreme rapidity and violence. But Finn Elder's attorney tells me the Americans tried to avoid the two men when they first saw them.
The boys decided to abort and decided, we're getting out of here and going back to the hotel, this is over, and made a left at the pharmacy, away from the bank, away from where they were supposed to meet Brucatelli.
A source has given me quotes from Finn Elder's interrogation that same day. He said the officers attacked the Americans without warning. A female investigator asks,
"What do you mean they attacked you?"
Finn replies,
Like, walked up close and just grabbed me and threw me to the ground. The bigger guy was on top of me. He started hitting me and he started strangling me. I thought he was trying to kill me. If I knew it was a police officer, I don't know. I thought I was gonna die. I would have stopped, but they were so aggressive and quick. Because in America, normally, like, policemen, the first thing they do is tell you they're a cop. You know, they show you a badge or something.
Finn has always been a complete truth teller. Finn tells the truth no matter what the circumstances is. You ask him what happened and he says it exactly.
Even when you don't like it?
Even when you don't like it. So in the worst of circumstances, what we understand is Finn told the truth over and over and over.
There's no dispute that Variale tried to subdue Gabe, but the officer said he was squirming strongly with kicks, scratches, and fists and could free himself from my grip. Variale showed scratches on his neck later that day. He also told investigators he couldn't see what happened to his partner, but remembered hearing Cicella Rega yell at Finn in Italian, "Stop, we are Carabinieri, that's enough." Even if that's true, Finn didn't understand Italian, and records showed the officer outweighed Finn by 100 pounds.
He was literally on top of Finn, and Finn was swinging the knife around, trying to get him to get off of him. And as soon as Cicella Rega did, Finn popped up, yelled to Gabe, "Let's get out of here or run," or something to that effect. He couldn't remember his exact words, and the two of them took off and ran back to the hotel.
The public has a hard time accepting that using a knife of that size is self-defense.
So it was the knife that Finn had. He didn't have a whole selection of weapons. It was one knife he had. He brought it with him that night because they were scared and worried about what might happen.
As Gabe and Finn ran away, Officer Variale saw his partner, Mario Cicella Rega, staggering for 2 seconds with his arms raised a little and far from his body, so that I noticed a lot of blood coming out of his left side, almost at the armpit. Cicella Rega said, "They stabbed me," and fell backwards to the ground. Variale called the police operational center for help, a transcript included in the investigative report. He says it's fast, he loses so much blood. "Mario, oh look at me, Mario, Mario, look at me." A police car approaches. Variale tells Cicella Rega they are coming here. You see them? Cicella Rega can be heard. "I feel sick, I feel sick." Variale, hey, the police car didn't see me." The dispatcher asks, "But tell me where you see them." Variale answers, "I saw them pass in the square here." The investigative report indicates the emergency response may have been delayed because Officer Variale failed to update his location. The operations center thought he was still in the Trastevere area, not the Prati district where the stabbing occurred nearly 3 miles away. Records show it took more than 15 minutes for an ambulance to arrive, as Variale cradled his partner in his arms, using his shirt to try to stop the bleeding. Officer Chicella Rega died at Holy Spirit Hospital at 4 a.m.
If the ambulance had gotten there sooner and gotten him to the hospital, it's possible that he could have been saved.
Dr. Judy Melanick is a forensic pathologist from the San Francisco Bay Area.
15 minutes is a pretty significant amount of time. Average ambulance response times, at least in the States, in most urban areas are much lower than that.
And so they were saying that perhaps B and C were two of the more serious wounds.
Well, those are the ones that went into the lung.
I asked Dr. Melanick to look at the autopsy report that was leaked by law enforcement. It shows Officer Chicella Rega suffered 11 wounds of varying depth. Some plunged so deep that the guard at the base of the 7-inch blade left an impression on his skin.
And some of the wounds went into major organs such as the lung, the diaphragm, the kidney, the intestines, causing bleeding into the chest cavity. And he died from blood loss as a result.
Finn's attorney says the wound pattern does not support Variale's claim that the Americans immediately attacked the officers.
It's an immediate attack. This is what you do with a knife. There's no stab wounds on the front of Churchello's body. They're on the side, there's one under the armpit, there's a couple in the back. Churchello was on top of Finn and close to him, which would, again, if you got somebody close to you, you're not going like this, you're trying to get them off of you. You're stabbing like this, which would be consistent with the stab wounds that we see in Churchello.
Italian investigators conclude the attack lasted about 32 seconds from the time the police shadows were in that crosswalk until the teens ran back to the hotel.
I want to find out exactly how long it took the young men to leave where the officer was stabbed and get back to their hotel.
4 patrol cars were in the area, but did not respond quickly enough to catch the suspects or provide timely medical help for the dying officer.
Now clearly they're a lot faster than me, but here's our time.
A man walking his dog noticed the boys running and later told police, as did the hotel's porter. Officers found drops of blood at the Meridian's entrance and the backpack in a planter there. But there is some confusion in the investigation early on. Officer Variale identifies the attackers as olive-skinned North Africans, perhaps Moroccans. As police scramble to find the killers and begin collecting surveillance video back in their room, records show Gabe had a WhatsApp video chat with his girlfriend in California. It lasted more than 31 minutes. And Finn, once again, texts his girlfriend.
I love you. No matter what happens, I love you.
What do you mean no matter what happens? I love you too, but what?
Talk more when I'm back.
Back from where?
I don't know if I'll make it back.
Don't leave your apartment or hotel.
I'm not. I love you.
Finn, you're scaring me.
Talk tomorrow. I love you.
I love you. Can you not do anything else stupid, please?
Okay.
At 10:55 that morning, Gabe has one more call with his Uncle Claudio before police knock at the door. Officers arrest Finn and Gabe, recover the clothing they wore during the incident just a few hours before, and find a knife hidden in a ceiling panel. I went to the Meridian Hotel and saw the evidence tape sealing room 109, but met 2 Americans arriving at room 209, one floor above. It had the same carpet and flooring and the same type of drop-down ceiling.
Yeah, you definitely hide something up there.
After police take them into custody, Finn's mother is the first of the teen's parents to hear the news. In a FaceTime video call from 2 Italian police investigators, her son, visible in the background, crying.
He said, "Mom, it's really, really bad." He said, "They're saying that I killed a cop," and then the phone just went dead. Whoa. Yeah, it was really awful. I don't think Ethan and I could stand for quite a long time after that. We both just sat here on the floor in this room and just cried and cried and cried.
Fabrizio Natale found out at the house in Fregene as his son's picture flashed on the 8 p.m. news. He told me during the interview in Rome, I was frightened. You just feel emptiness. It feels like the whole world is crashing in on you. He reached Gabe's mom back in California.
He said, last night we saw in the news that Gabriel and the guy that he's visited in Rome were arrested in connection with the killing of a police officer.
What's going through your mind at that point? I can't even imagine.
I honestly couldn't, I couldn't process it.
The Natales and Elders started making calls to find Italian lawyers, to the American embassy in Rome to figure out visitation. But they tell me, out of respect, they tried to lay low while Rosa Maria buried her husband, Mario. The anger was real in the officer's hometown, crowds paying their respects, his fellow carabinieri filing past the coffin.
Allora, era un animale, è manco.
The mayor said, who killed him is an animal. I want to say to the judges to not be gentle. The uniform must be respected. The young suspects are kept in separate cells in this prison in the heart of Rome. Some inmates call Finn California Boy. Before any of the parents were able to visit, the police and prosecutors held a news conference.
Più reparti per svolgimento di questa attività.
Depicting the Americans as the aggressors, but admitting a series of mistakes in the case, starting with this. A photo of Gabe handcuffed and blindfolded before his interrogation caused an uproar.
Why do you keep a suspect in this manner, and then why you take a picture?
Rory Capelli is also a reporter for La Repubblica, but specializes in Rome's crime and courts. She says a carabinieri took the picture and sent it to other officers.
Saying, look what we do to the suspect, something like that, And then it starts to goes around and around and around, and at the end it finished in the desk of some journalists. So, everybody has it.
Police said Gabe was blindfolded for only 4 minutes so he wouldn't see computer screens and papers on the desk. But sources tell me it was actually close to an hour.
Just as a mom seeing that image of your kid.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
But I was also grateful that I didn't see other images that were, that could have been worse. And so
in terms of him being harmed.
Mm-hmm.
5 months later, the officer who placed the blindfold on Gabe and the one who took the picture were charged with abuse of office.
Come ti chiami? Che cambia?
Then, a video of Gabe in the blindfold leaked. An investigator asks, "Hey boy, what's your name? Hey, what's your name? What's your name?" Gabe seems confused and answers, "What changed?" The officer also asks about the location of a pink or red sweatshirt, what Finn wore during the killing. But the most shocking aspect of all, who shot the video? I've confirmed it's Officer Andrea Veriale, who Gabe had fought just hours before. The biggest witness in the case had access to the suspect, a fact for the defense team to raise at trial. Police also said today the deceased officer forgot to bring his gun that night. At that news conference, the provincial commander admitted Officer Circello Rega left his service weapon at the barracks. The commander said he had forgotten it, only he knows why he did not have it with him. He claimed that Circello Rega's partner had his gun, but could not shoot the suspects as they ran away because it's against Italian law. Days later, Officer Veriale admitted he lied about having a service weapon that night. He also wasn't armed, and now faces a possible dereliction of duty charge.
We now know that the one person that was there, that was a carabinieri at the scene when this all happened, has lied repeatedly about what actually took place.
I imagine that's pretty important to your case.
Incredibly important. This is a question of credibility, and there's two different stories, and the question is going to be which story is correct based on the objective facts.
Era veramente...
This police station commander, who spoke highly of the dead officer to the media, has been demoted and now faces a charge of lying to investigators. He claimed Officer Veriale handed him his service weapon at the hospital after the killing, when it was actually locked up at the barracks all night. Into this maelstrom walk the families, Ethan Elder the first to be seen.
I'm here at Rome Airport, and this really is one of the most organized arrivals I've seen. The press representative will ask Ethan Elder if he wants to make any comments to the media.
Ethan!
But he made no public comments throughout his trip to Rome. He visited his son in prison twice, met Finn's Italian defense team, and returned to San Francisco, where his American lawyer read a statement on behalf of the family.
We look forward to the truth coming out and to our son coming home.
Here, for the first time, Finn's parents discuss seeing their son after his arrest. Describe for me that moment, Ethan, when you saw Finn for the first time in prison.
My heart was broken over the loss of Officer Rega. And I walked back in and it broke again.
Seeing your boy.
Seeing my boy. We hugged, we kissed, we told each other we loved each other. He was shaking.
I could feel how much physical contact he needed, so I just touched him the whole time and held his hand.
A source gave me these images of her visits. Leah didn't know her private moments were being secretly recorded by the Carabinieri, as were Finn's visits with his father and his American lawyer.
You know, they make the room empty for that reason. You know, we thought it was for privacy.
It was to record.
It was to record us, and video and audio recordings, which
because
makes
now
me
when I go back, we get
physically ill when I think about it, literally.
The Carabinieri leaked some of the recording transcripts to Italian reporters who ran with the story that Finn knew Cicciella Rega was a police officer before he killed him.
Many other things that in this story are very strange.
Finn's Italian lawyer obtained the recordings, had them translated again, and he tells me they confirm Finn's account.
Finn said, I didn't know that he was a cop. I thought he was a random criminal guy, mafia guy.
Heidi Yort also saw her son Gabe in prison, and she shared a recent letter he sent.
Dear Mom, please stay calm and strong. I'm so mad at everything and mostly myself right now. I feel so powerless in here, God damn it. This isn't something that you can wait for though, it gets harder every day. I love you so much and I want you to know that. I don't forget how hard this must be for you too.
Both families are draining their life savings to pay for teams of attorneys and investigators. They're demanding all the surveillance video from that night that's been collected by the Carabinieri.
They would have seen them coming by.
There's the video from that wine bar across from the hotel that caught the American students ducking between cars, and the jewelry store camera that saw them walking to and running from the fatal fight. At the intersection where Cicciella Rega died, the pizza and kebab shop has no surveillance system, and the pharmacy's camera is covered at night by a solid metal gate.
The camera with the best view of what happened is here at the bank just across the street. And I want to show you, take a look at this camera. I'm going to hold my cell phone up to the camera to show you the view. It has a clear angle of that crosswalk where the fight occurred.
La Repubblica reported that the bank had video of the critical moment.
We know for a fact that 26th of July, the bank gave to the Carabinieri the video footage. That the video cameras were working, so...
And the bank said that to you?
Yeah.
To your newspaper?
Yeah.
But in the final investigative report, the Carabinieri claims the bank's video was acquired and not useful. One of many remaining questions about the case, including this. Finn admits stabbing Officer Cicciella Rega but says it was self-defense. What was Gabe's role? A judge found that he should also face the aggravated murder and attempted extortion charges. With his Italian language skills, Gabe set up the meeting that turned deadly, and he fought with Variale, preventing him from saving his partner. Do you think that Gabriel shares some responsibility in terms of being in that place, putting himself in that location, doing the things that he did that led up to the events?
I believe that he was bold enough to set up a meeting to go and get his money back after being cheated.
Right.
And I believe that he did not know that Finn had the knife that evening with him.
That's what Gabe told investigators, but the judge in the preliminary investigation found that argument not credible. Given the knife's dimensions, he wrote, it was certainly not possible to take it and hide it in your pocket or otherwise hide it without the knowledge of Natale, who was nearby in the room with Elder. It also appears Gabe had his own knife in Rome, found on a table next to his hotel bed. Police say it's very similar to one he mentioned in a text to his girlfriend in May. He sent her a link to this Amazon listing. I also obtained this Snapchat from Gabe's account. His friends told me he sent it from Italy in the days before the killing. Holding a knife, Gabe wrote, "Unfortunately, no straps abroad." Straps, street slang for guns. "But this baby saved my full pockets today," implying he used the knife to keep someone from taking his money. His parents say the picture doesn't look like Gabe's body and that we should focus on the core issue, their belief that the Carabinieri did not identify themselves before the attack.
I know my son well enough, despite the fact that he may have photos that I'm not aware of. He would never have done this. Outside of surrendering, the only thing he would have thought of if he had known for sure that they were military police or police at all would be to run. That would be the only thing outside of that. He would never attack a policeman.
At the end of this long investigation, I had only one question left.
This is not an easy question to answer, but what words do you have for Officer Rega's wife?
I'm just so heartbroken. I'm so heartbroken that her husband was here and now he's no longer on this earth. And I feel just an immense amount of pain when I think of her.
Not a day goes by that we don't reflect on him and their lives, and his wife and his family and his parents and his sister, all of his friends, and everyone who loved him, just as we love our son. And it's just a tragedy.
In her only statement since her husband's death, Officer Chichala Rega's wife, Rosa Maria, wrote, "I ask for justice and not revenge for my Mario." The trial start date, 7 months to the day since he died.